Did you know that Apple once released a phone called the Pippin in the 90s that was intended to be a gaming console, but flopped spectacularly, selling only about 42,000 units? Apple's history with phone-like devices isn't just about the iPhone. There have been other attempts, some more successful than others. The company's foray into mobile began much earlier than you might think, with devices that didn't quite hit the mark. From the Newton to the Pippin, Apple has had its fair share of hits and misses. These experiments, while not always successful, have contributed to the tech giant's current dominance in the smartphone market. The Pippin, for instance, was marketed as a multimedia player and a gaming console, but it ended up being a costly failure. Its high price point and limited game library made it less appealing to consumers. This didn't deter Apple from continuing to innovate and take risks in the mobile space. Years later, the iPhone would revolutionize the smartphone industry, but before that, there were other devices that didn't quite live up to expectations. Apple's exploration of the mobile market has been a long and winding road, filled with innovative ideas and some notable missteps. The company's willingness to experiment and push boundaries has led to the creation of some amazing products, but also some that didn't quite make the cut. Understanding these earlier attempts provides valuable context for appreciating the iPhone's impact. The iPod, for example, was a massive success, but it wasn't a phone. So, what about Apple's phone flops beyond the iPhone? Let's take a look at some of the key features and specifications of these devices. The Apple Newton, released in 1993, was a personal digital assistant that could send faxes and emails but had a notoriously poor handwriting recognition system. Its price point was also quite steep, around $700, which is equivalent to over $1,200 today. The Newton was meant to be a game changer, but it ended up being discontinued in 1998. Another device was the Apple Pippin, which I mentioned earlier. It had a 32-bit processor, 2 megabytes of RAM, and a CD-ROM drive, but it was expensive and had limited software availability. The iPhone's precursor, the iPod Touch, was released in 2007 and didn't have phone capabilities, but it had a multi-touch screen and could play music and videos. Then there's the Apple iPad, which wasn't a phone either but did have cellular capabilities. These devices, while successful, show that Apple has been testing the waters for years. When diving into a detailed review of each phone flop, it's clear that there were both pros and cons. The Newton had a sleek design and a robust feature set, but its handwriting recognition was laughable. Consumer reactions were mixed, with some appreciating its innovative approach and others frustrated by its limitations. Sales performance was underwhelming, leading to its eventual discontinuation. The Pippin, on the other hand, had impressive specs for its time, including a CD-ROM drive and a remote control. However, its high price and limited game library made it a tough sell. Comparing these flops to successful Apple products or competitors illustrates what went wrong. The iPhone's success, for instance, can be attributed to its user-friendly interface, robust app ecosystem, and seamless integration with other Apple devices. In contrast, Apple's flops often suffered from high prices, limited features, or poor timing. These factors, combined with intense competition, made it difficult for these devices to gain traction. On a personal level, I've seen how these flops impacted consumers in the industry. They represented Apple's willingness to take risks and innovate, even if it meant occasionally missing the mark. These experiments have contributed to the development of more successful products and have helped shape the tech landscape. Apple's flops serve as a reminder that innovation often involves trial and error. Offering a final thought on Apple's flops, I give them an overall rating of 2 out of 10, but I think they're still worth acknowledging. Certain types of consumers might benefit from these products, such as those looking for a unique, albeit flawed, user experience. For instance, the Newton might appeal to someone interested in retro tech or a collector of Apple's less mainstream devices. Encouraging viewers to share their thoughts, I'd love to hear about your experiences with Apple's phone flops. Have you ever owned or used one of these devices? What did you think of them? Let me know in the comments. If you're interested in more tech insights, be sure to check out my other video on the most anticipated tech products of the year.